So many may not know this, but Studio Bones is actually celebrating 25 years as being an anime studio, and they are definitely one of my personal favorite anime studios that are out there. And Metallic Rouge, the anime we're talking about today, just aired its second episode, and this is the anniversary project, right? Like, this is their big anime to celebrate 25 years as a studio, and I think it's already a certified banger. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot of motivation, characterization, history, lore that is yet to be explored. And there are a lot of unanswered questions of why certain things are happening. Yeah, we can read the synopsis and say, okay, the two main characters are going after 9 people who are basically hostile to a government. That's an interesting premise, but there is a lot of uncertainty. But that's okay. I don't want all the cards to be laid out in the first 1 to 3 episodes. Otherwise, we have no reason to continue other than maybe some visual flair. I want to learn things at a steady pace, which is what they did in this episode. We learn a lot about the wars, the aliens coming to different planets, and who was friend, who was foe. But I leave episode 2 even more impressed than I left episode 1 with. And I left episode 1 saying, for me, that's the type of first episode that says that's Brandon's potential anime of the season. And I got like 3 shows that are gonna be probably fighting for that spot, probably between this, Solo Leveling, and Delicious in Dungeon. 3 very different shows, but I have a very wide palette for anime. But for me anyway, I see this not as just a simple original anime that they didn't really put too much passion into. Even ignoring the fact that they made this as their 25th anniversary special. No, like, this is something interesting. This is something different, and without a doubt has that Vivi from Studio Wit feel that's just like, this is different, this is really cool. And I think anyone who might have been more on the fence with episode 1 hopefully should see a lot more potential with episode 2. They explain a lot more with the world, a lot more of the history, and honestly, the combat was even more fun in my opinion with a giant chase scene and some 86 level combat. This was awesome. I have a full live reaction to episode 2 Metallic Rouge over on my Patreon, so if you would like to see my full and good thoughts, they're over there if you're interested. Now, I love this. I really, really do. It may not always be the most visually stunning show at face value, like there's a lot of beautiful animation, but I think if you look at a show like, say, a Vivi from Studio Wit, a lot of even just the static shots were just like, they were wallpaper. You take a screen grab and you put that on your wallpaper. I don't really think this show has that going for it, but it more than makes up for it with a very consistent look. Like, the character models don't dip, and the expression and the mannerisms, I mean, whether it's Rouge herself and just, she basically said F them kids. So it's such a little moment, but I love it so much. She has like this chocolate obsession. We already knew that from episode 1. She's pounding back a big old chocolate bar. There's this little kid like drooling, being like, pretty much saying, please, may I have a bite? And Naomi's basically saying, give her some. And she's like, F them kids, and shoves that whole thing. She's like, I ain't sharing. Granted, by the end she does share, but it's still quite hilarious. But just like the general movements, and I think this was actually one of the most effective like info dump that you're probably going to see this anime season. So we don't know a lot about the aliens, the species, and the humanity and everything. Like, we really only know what the synopsis has told us and what we saw off of episode 1, which was very little. So what we end up doing is we pretty much get taught like preschool kids. Like, that's pretty much how it was presented. So rather than just this very dry, boring, okay, anime fans need to know this giant, extensive lore, so let's give them this giant wall of text or something. No, instead, she's like very enthusiastic talking to these kids. She's very like, this is the type of teacher you want when growing up throughout school. She's very, you want to listen and hang on to every word, but she explains it in such a simplified way because she's talking to kids that the anime fan who's currently watching, who has no history with this world whatsoever, feels like they're picking up on everything just like that. And it was really, really nice. So we learn about Mars and how Mars was kind of like that last beacon of hope, the last final hurrah for humanity to push back the invaders. The first kind of like alien life they made contact with, very friendly, very peaceful, all's well that ends well. Everything after, maybe a bit of a different story. We also learn a bit more about these Neans? I don't know how they're said, but basically the ones who have to once a day inject that thing. Otherwise, well, we see what happened in episode 1. You fall over and you die. Still very much up in the air why our girl Rouge, who seemingly is one of them, doesn't show any of the visible signs like the others, but that's obviously for another episode down the line. I like the fact that they are built around this programming. This, like, they have to obey. It's, you know, we've seen that with androids and other shows before, but there is definitely some differences here, especially with seemingly the characters we're going after and hunting apparently don't abide by those rules. And I think that's part of the reason why they're hostile to the government and why most likely we're trying to kill them. Either way, very, very effective. And I think, yes, episode 1 was missing more context of why things was happening. And maybe this would be another case of maybe airing a couple of episodes back to back would have been beneficial. But I'm perfectly fine with the craziness and how they dropped us into the world in episode 1. People disagree. Plenty of people did. Perfectly fine. I'm just showing both sides. There's my side and what I saw other people say. There's no right or wrong way. Let's just cover it all just to be safe here, right? So we get a big chase scene. We get a lot of info, and then once they got stranded, that's where things really popped off. I mean, the kid, don't move. To be fair, the kid was less infuriating than a lot of anime children, but that was wild because it basically is moving like one of the like bots from 86, right, from A1 Pictures. Very cool. And then she transforms into her Super Sentai Power Rangers getup. And it was kind of cool because it wasn't just her fighting, but like the OST, it wasn't the entire time during the end sequence, but sometimes that OST gave me Rocky vibes. Like I felt like I was listening to some motivational music that was getting me ready for my big fight. It was really good, man. I don't know. But by the end of that, it was awesome because like we were kicking ass, we were taking names, the jumping at one point because like they basically board the ship to try to find Rouge. And by the time she gets halfway through the ship, someone else has already dealt with the other people. And she's kind of like, what the hell? I thought I had to fight more. It was just, there's some interesting comedy without it being jokes, but just more so situational, like I thought I had to beat more people up. All right, I guess we're done here. Really good stuff. Though I will say that opening, I don't know what I'm gonna pick for my favorite opening of the season, but I really think Metallic Rouge has like a top 3 opening of the season at very worst. Like that was so good. It has that simple hook. I don't know what it was, but it was so captivating, enthralling. The ending song too, I think the ending song had better visuals than the opening's visuals. I like the opening song more than the ending song, but just, it's so good. This feels like a passion project, which makes sense given it is their 25th anniversary special. But I digress. Of course, this anime, like any anime, is not going to be universally for everyone. Doesn't matter how popular something is, there's going to be people who simply don't like it. And that's not because they're trying to be a hater or not fall on a bandwagon. Tastes differ. If we agreed with everything, then every single thing that ever came out would be identical and it would become boring. All I'm saying is I definitely think there may be a bit of closed-mindedness, not in the way that if you dislike the show, you know, no. Let's get away from that. But there definitely felt like, to me, reading some pushback, not even really with my comment section, but just through Reddit and stuff, I felt like a lot of people were just assuming they didn't explain everything right away, so therefore there's no train of thought. It's like, no, this is a slow burn of opening up and exploring more as we have craziness tie us together. Maybe that's for you, maybe that's not for you, but I think this one is going to be one of the best shows of the season. I still firmly believe that, and I'm probably going to keep saying that all the way to the home stretch. But let me know what you thought of Metallic Rouge Episode 2 down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, and like I mentioned, we had that full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Furno19Z, Selkie, Davlin, and Harry Trustcott. I appreciate the support. Please take care. Have a good one.